Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. It is Mike's Talks and Thoughts here. Back again with another video for you guys, and today I'm going to be giving you guys my list of the top 10 game shows. Now this is going to be something a little bit different from my channel because usually I talk about TV series or ones with specific amount of seasons, but these ones are going to be my favorite game shows. Now game shows are definitely one of my favorites. I love watching game shows. That is one of my go-to shows when I'm sitting and eating dinner or just looking to lounge around. I put game shows on a lot. So I thought today we'd change it up a little bit for my channel, still keep in that TV related section and talk about game shows. Now I'm going to be giving you guys my top 10 picks of my favorite game shows. I'd like to hear in the comments below your favorite game shows. So once you have finished watching this video, comment down below and say what your 10 favorite game shows of all time are. And while doing that as well, if you could hit the subscribe and like button, that always is greatly appreciated and gives a lot of support on my channel, more than you know. So without further ado, let's get started. Coming in here at number 10 for me is going to be Let's Make a Deal. Now this was a show that came out back in the 60s and it has many hosts. I believe it has had 4 different hosts, but the one that I associate it most with is Wayne Brady. Wayne Brady is a great host of this show, and the show is very, very interesting. It takes place when it's airing right before another very popular game show that I will be talking about later in the list. But I think it's just such a cool, inventive game. You basically play games and you play different mini games. They call you down and you have to decide at the end between 3 different selections, 3 different doors. And I just think it's great. Wayne Brady adds a lot of comedy to the show. Being the host, you know, he was on a lot of great projects beforehand. So Let's Make a Deal, one of my favorites, and definitely is worthy of number 10 on the list. Coming in here at number 9, we have Pyramid. Now, this has had a lot of different versions to it. We've had the $10,000 pyramid, the $50,000, and the $100,000. So, as it's gone on, it is a show that came out in the 70s, and as it's gone on, it has gained a lot more traction, you know, increased that money gain. And I just think it's a really great show. Usually you have 2 contestants. Sometimes they will bring celebrities on the show to give the clues or guess the clues, mainly to give the clues. And, you know, they have to describe a word without saying the word. And I just think that's very great. I love the Friends episode with Joey going on the game show. That's always great. That's one of the first things I think of when I think of the Pyramid game show. I really like the final round where they have to go through different categories. And at the end, they can't use their hands. Before, you could use your hands, and the other one you can't. And the final round, one of my all-time favorites, and is definitely worthy of a place on this list. Moving in here to number 8 on the list, we have Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Now, this show is a lot more modern than the other 2, although those 2 are still airing today, or still airing in the modern day. We have Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? This was a show that came out in 1999, so almost at the turn of the century, and this show was an event. This was a show that always had lots of fans waiting each week to see who the next contestant was going to be and who was going to win that $1 million. Now, this show has had a lot of different hosts. Most notably for me was Regis Philbin. I remember seeing him kind of at the start of it, and just a great host. This is a game show that follows a format of questions. You know, they're asked different questions and they have to get them right. They can use audience members, like Ask the Audience, and other hints and tricks, which is really great. And then moving up the board until, you know, they get to that million. And this was just a show that had so much traction on TV. So many people were interested in seeing it each and every week. I was always hearing stuff about it. And of course, there was always people who were caught cheating on the show. I know there has been some scandals with people who were cheating on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire with the questions, you know, having people in the audience or somewhere giving them the correct answers beforehand. Moving in here to number 7, we have one of the most iconic game shows of all time, and definitely one of my favorites. One that I haven't seen a lot in the past 10 years or so, but it was still a great show, and that is going to be Wheel of Fortune. Of course, one of the most iconic game shows of all time, airing back in 1975 with the iconic host of Pat Sajak and Vanna White. Now, this is a timeless classic. This show really holds a nice place for me because this was one of my mom's favorite game shows. We'd always used to watch Wheel of Fortune, Jeopardy, and she was really good at Wheel of Fortune. Honestly, we tried to get her to actually sign up for the show. That never ended up happening though, but that was one of the reasons why this is on the list for me. I'm not really the best at it. I don't really do well at solving those kinds of puzzles, but it is such a timeless classic and very iconic. It's got to be somewhere on the top 10 game shows list, and for me, it comes in on my list at number 7. Next up here at number 6 on my list is going to be The Chase. This was a show very recently, came out in 2013, and was just a hit for me. This was a show I always just see all the time on the Game Show Network, and just so great. I think Brooke Burns is a phenomenal host. She has also done a lot of other hosting gigs, and now is on a show called Masterminds, another one of my favorites that maybe if I had a little bit more time would have definitely make this list in the future, but I think she's a phenomenal host. And then, of course, the Beast himself, Mark Labette. What a great mind and a great person to play as the mastermind, or see what I did there, as the mastermind or the best person to compete against 3 different people. And they have this thing called the Cash Builder, where the contestants come and each question they get right is $5,000 added into their bank, and then they have 60 seconds, and then they go and play the Beast, and they do different multiple choice questions, and they have to try and get their money in the bank without the Beast catching them. The Beast can offer them a lower amount or a higher amount depending on where they want to start on the board, and then all the contestants remaining will go on to the final chase, where it is them versus the Beast. They have different sets of questions, and they have to try and compete. If the Beast catches them, then they lose, and if he doesn't catch them, then they win. So it's split up evenly among the contestants. So if it's one person in the final, it's split up just between that one person. If it's 3 people, then split up evenly among the 3 contestants. And just a great game show. They've also had a revival as well in 2021 with the Jeopardy contestants. Hint for another one coming up on the list, with Ken Jennings, James Holzhauer, Brad Ritter, and Mark Labette also came back in season 2 for The Chase. I believe it's just a one-off for the season, but he could be coming back, in the future. But I also really like the revival as well. It's great. It's got a different host. I can't remember her name, but she's definitely great as well. And I just think, The Chase is an iconic game show that came out in the 2010s. And it comes in at number 6 on my list. Moving in here to the halfway point of the list, we are at number 5. And for number 5, I have Are You Smarter Than a 5th Grader? Now, I know this one's a little bit of a silly pick because, it doesn't take as much thinking or as much intelligence to get this one or, compete in this one. But it was just so iconic to me back in the day. The show came out in 2007. Jeff Foxworthy, of course, a very iconic host. It also had John Cena as a host, but I really don't remember him as the host of the show. So Jeff Foxworthy, I definitely remember. And this was actually a show that took place around the time I was in elementary school. So in 2007, I would have been, I believe, in second or third grade. And I was playing along with this. I always wanted to win. See if I could answer these questions, and every week I would sit down and watch this. This was another one that was sort of an event to people in my elementary school. I used to talk with a lot of friends about it each week, like, how did you do on Are You Smarter Than a 5th Grader? Did you watch it? And it's also a very unique show because it's the only game show I can think of that was really big that had kids on it, actual kids on the show. And I just thought that was great how you could, pick a kid that can come and help you, and you have some lifelines with them. And the questions did seem a little bit difficult though, because I remember going through grade school and being like, I never learned this before 5th grade. But to each their own. Such a great show. This one is just kind of a personal pick for me, being up this high at number 5. Just a very classic show. I know it's not one of the best all time, but to me it's one of my favorites. So for me, I have to put Are You Smarter Than a 5th Grader here at number 5. Next, here at number 4, we have Deal or No Deal. Originally airing back in 2005, another one in the modern day, and another classic. Hosted by Howie Mandel, of course. Just a great show, just a great premise for a game show. They have 26 different cases, and the contestants, they pick one, and then they just pick through the rest. Again, you don't have to be intelligent at all to play along with this, and it's all a game of luck. But I think it's just so interesting. You get so excited and so amped up when these contestants are doing really, really good or really, really bad. I've seen ones where the contestant gets like $1 at the end of it, or one where someone could have won $3 million. I think the highest that was ever won on the show was in the 600 or 700,000s. So just a great show. Another one that holds another special place in my heart with my childhood. Of course, the models on the show, me and my friends used to always talk about, who was the best model on the show, or who did you like the most? Just us, being kids and, kind of discovering that portion of life, if you know what I mean. But Deal or No Deal was always a great show. I still see it nowadays. I believe they air it around noon on the Game Show Network. I still see it a lot, and so classic. Really hits me in the feels every time I see it. And it comes in at number 4 on my top game shows of all time. Moving in here to my number 3 spot, we have easily one of the most iconic. This is definitely in the top 5 of most iconic game shows of all time, and definitely another one that is very special to me, and that is going to be The Price is Right. This is a show came back in 1972, so now we're moving back into the classic shows. It's been on for 50 seasons now, and this was just a great show for me. This is another one that is holds special to me because of family. I used to go to my grandma's house all the time when I was a kid, and we used to always watch The Price is Right. Sometimes we'd watch Let's Make a Deal. This was, of course, the show that followed Let's Make a Deal, but she was always watching The Price is Right, and we always came there around when The Price is Right was on, so we'd always stay there for the hour and watch The Price is Right, and I just think it's such a great game show. I just thought it was a really nice concept for the show. They'd have call contestants down, and then they'd bid on an item, and then whoever won that got to go up and play the game that they had, Plinko, of course, being one of the best. And they'd play that game and see if they'd win more items, and then the 3 would go and do the spin, and then whoever had the best number or closest to the dollar would move on to the final showdown. There would be 2 contestants in the final showdown, and they'd have great prizes over there, and they'd have to try and bet how much your showcase was worth. Another great reason why I love this show is How I Met Your Mother, one of my favorite shows of all time. Of course, with the iconic Showdown episode, one of my favorite episodes of the series. Just another reason that adds on to this classic game show that I love it so much. And also, Bob Barker, what a great host. I have seen the Drew Carey years, not all of them. I definitely like Bob Barker a lot more as a host than Drew Carey. But, Drew Carey's still okay as the host. And, keeping the legacy going on is great. And I think this show could go on for over 100 years. That's how timeless I think this show could be. Moving in here to number 2 on the list, a very iconic game show, and that is going to be Jeopardy. Now, Jeopardy was such a great show. One of the most iconic ones ever, again in that Price is Right category. Another show that followed up with one on the list previously, Let's Make a Deal, was with The Price is Right, and then now you have Jeopardy, which followed Wheel of Fortune. another one that my mom used to watch all the time, and sometimes I still watch to this day. They have a lot of iconic contestants, of course, the main ones, which I mentioned earlier from the revival chase, are now on that. They got their start on Jeopardy, their big stardom, and then each week you could see the champion, and you'd wonder, is this person going to go on another big streak? They just recently had one that ended, that was around 30 games, I believe, with a contestant named Matt. That was very, very great. And Jeopardy, of course, with the iconic host of Alex Trebek, RIP Alex Trebek, one of my favorite hosts ever. And it's going to take a while to fill the void of him as the host, but it's still such a great show. This was a show that I really felt like tested your knowledge, because a lot of these other ones, they were pretty simple questions. People could get them right. Everyday people could get them right, but Jeopardy was definitely harder. You could get some right, but they were definitely questions that you had to be on your A game to get right. And I just felt it was such a good challenge trying to get these right each week, trying to improve on your score. I'd always count up how many questions on Jeopardy did I get right tonight. So Jeopardy for me comes in at number 2 on my list and is one of the greatest game shows of all time. But coming in here at number 1 on my list, and I know it's also number 1 on Nick's list, MVG Nick, and I believe it's the first one on Matt's list as well, Cartoon Lover Productions, 2 of my best friends that I've done videos on their channels with. And for us and for me, my number 1 game show of all time is going to be Family Feud. Family Feud is just another one, very, very easy to play and very, very nostalgic. This is another classic one, ending here with a lot of classic shows that started way back in the day. This was one that started back in 1970s. In 1976, of course, Richard Dawson, one of the most iconic hosts ever in TV history, all the way up until now. Steve Harvey, I believe, now holds the record for being on the show the longest of any of the hosts. And it's just such a great show. Lots of great contestants and memorable moments that happen on the show. Watching Family Feud funny moments is awesome. It's a very easy show to play with. You always want to go on there with your family. Steve Harvey makes it such a great show with his humor. And it's just one of the ones that I don't think will ever die out. It's just such a fantastic show and a fantastic concept. It is my number 1 game show of all time, and I don't really see a show surpassing it unless it really blows me away. But yeah, that is going to be my list of the top 10 game shows and my 10 personal favorites here of all time. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And again, like I said before in the video, please leave a comment down below of what your favorite game shows of all time are. I would love to see your lists. And also, leave some video suggestions down below. I am definitely like hearing what you guys have to say and what you want. Of course, make sure it is TV related. That is definitely what I want to cover here on this channel for you guys. But also, be creative and fun with it. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and peace out.